Smoky sweet, juicy lambot sarap. Pang Mang Inasal Pork Barbecue, 99 pesos lang.
New Old Spice Steel Titan. Long-lasting scent.
The new Chowking Imperial Chicken Chop. Chow like a king, starting at 75.
A family was doing some landscaping one afternoon when one of them came across something mysterious. The family purchased the 1850s home a few years ago in North Wales, and ever since they have experienced strange activity. Some of them have heard the cries of a young girl in the house at night, which is unusual since the family has no children. Unfortunately, none of them were able to catch the cries on camera, so it was difficult to convince the others. While they were landscaping, they came across a sealed fresh water well, which none of them were aware of. One of the family members grabbed a pick and decided to crack open the well to investigate further. Once the seal was broken, something took place that left the family stunned. Just moments into the video, we can see the man place the pick in the sealed well and slowly lift up the rock. Once he begins to lift, we can hear a strange noise that closely resembles a young child screaming. He courageously decides to lift it a bit higher, and the strange scream happens once again. Many people in the original comment section are convinced he captured the cries of a child's spirit who sadly passed away in the well. The skeptics, on the other hand, are certain it was simply the wind or some gas being released. Paranormal or not, the footage is definitely creepy. A man named Eddie was running some errands one afternoon when he noticed something strange. He pulled into a shopping center and glanced over at a local pizza shop. He is a car enthusiast and noticed a beautiful orange Corvette C8 in the reflection of the store glass. When he looked around the parking lot at where the car would have been, he didn't see it anywhere. There weren't many cars in the parking lot, and based on the angle in which he was looking, it should have been fairly easy to spot. He quickly grabbed his phone and recorded the event to hopefully get some answers. Many people were quick to mention that it was possibly a glitch in the Matrix.
Okay, where is this car that's reflecting on this Boston Pizza window? It's a Corvette C8. I seriously don't see that car anywhere. Where's that car? What? Where is that car? Hello, where's that car? Where is this car?
As he begins to pan his camera around the shopping center, he focuses his attention on the reflection of the pizza shop. We can clearly see a bright orange car in the reflection of the glass. What is peculiar is that the car doesn't seem to be anywhere in sight. He videos the entire parking lot, and there doesn't seem to be any video editing taking place. He eventually walks over to the pizza shop to show that there was no car inside that some speculated was on display. While many people are convinced he captured a glitch in the Matrix, one individual commented that it was parked in front of the black SUV. If we take a closer look through the windshield, we can see the orange car in front, which was difficult to see from his angle. A couple was thinking of moving into a new area and decided to look around at various apartments. They chose to record each tour on camera so they could keep track of what each apartment offered in terms of the layout. Their search was going well, and nothing unusual had taken place. This would all change when they entered one of the last remaining apartments on their search and would get the scare of a lifetime. As they made their way through the front door and past the kitchen, the lady soon enters one of the bedrooms. As she quickly looks around and opens the closet door, she notices something truly terrifying.
It helps sometimes. So this is the oval.
Yeah, that would help me actually. Yeah. is that closet?
That's washer dryer hookups.
Oh, cool. Oh, sorry, I kicked you. There's a person in there.
There's a person in here? Hello?
As the couple walks through the kitchen and towards the bedroom, one of them opens up a closet and notices a person sleeping on the ground. You can clearly hear the fear in her voice, and she soon quickly leaves the apartment. Although the footage is not paranormal, seeing someone you don't expect is still extremely creepy. Most of the people in the comments section are convinced it was simply a squatter, but that doesn't mean they weren't in danger. A man recently moved into a new apartment and has been experiencing strange activity ever since he moved in. He often engages in the practice of astral projection, which is when someone intentionally has an out-of-body experience. Some people warn about possible dangers involving astral projection. One of them involves leaving your body vulnerable for possession when you separate your consciousness. Allegedly, there are evil spirits that look for soulless bodies to possess. One night, he was engaging in his usual astral projection practice, and when he re-entered his body, he heard loud noises in his house. He decided to grab his phone and investigate the source of the disturbances.
It's about 1 a.m. and I was astral projecting, and I normally do this often, but this time, as I was walking up the stairs, something like knocked me back out. And ever since then, I've been hearing knocking noises. Like, do you hear that? I'm just recording it because I don't know what's going on. It's like kind of weird. Hello? Hello? Anyone here? Hello? Anyone here?
As the video begins, he mentions that after his astral projection session, he was walking up the stairs and felt something push him back. Soon after, he tells us that strange knockings have been happening off and on, and we soon hear something that sounds like an object sliding on the ground.
Do you hear that? Do you hear that? Do you hear that?
He decides to head to the top of the stairs to find the source of the noise, but doesn't see anything out of the ordinary. We can soon hear the loud sliding noise once again, just before his bedroom door violently slams shut.
Anyone here? Anyone here? Anyone here?
While many people in the comment section believe he opened himself up to negative forces, the skeptics are certain the video is simply a hoax. A family recently brought home a few puppies and began to notice most of their belongings were chewed up. They wanted to see which one of the puppies was chewing on everything, so they decided to install a few security cameras throughout the house. At first, nothing out of the ordinary took place until one evening the family decided to head out and run some errands. During this time, one of them got a notification on their phone that motion was detected inside one of the bedrooms. When they opened the video, they expected to see one of their puppies chewing on one of their belongings. When they looked around the room, they saw nothing moving, which surprised them since something must have triggered the camera. When they looked down the dark hallway, they noticed something that would forever haunt them. Just moments into the video, if we look down the dark hallway, we can see a black humanoid figure slowly walking from right to left. My first thought is that it was simply a family member walking by, but the owner of the video mentioned nobody was home. It's difficult to make out any distinct features due to the camera quality and how dark the hallway is. She also mentioned that the other camera in her home captured nobody entering the house, while many people in the comments section are convinced she captured a shadow figure. The skeptics are certain it was simply a family member unaccounted for.
Albuquerque's West Mesa, a vast and desolate expanse of land located within the city limits. Arid, barren, the perfect place to hide one's darkest secrets. Prior to 2006, the Arroyo Bank of West Mesa was largely uninhabited. That is, until urban development reached the area and the site was disturbed, buried, and platted for residential construction. On the 2nd of February 2009, a woman walking her dog stumbled upon a bone which had risen to the surface during the area's development. One that looked decidedly human. She notified the authorities, and soon, 11 sets of human female remains were unearthed in a small area, bringing the existence of a formerly unknown serial slayer to the world's attention. One whom the media dubbed the West Mesa Bone Collector. Thanks to the wonders of DNA analysis, the 11 bodies were soon linked to 11 missing person cases. Those of young women aged between 15 and 32, who were mostly of Hispanic descent. Jamie Barella, Monica Candelaria, Victoria Chavez, Virginia Cloven, Selania Edwards, Cinnamon Elks, Doreen Marquez, Julie Nieto, Veronica Romero, Evelyn Salazar, and Michelle Valdez. All of them had disappeared at some point between 2001 and 2005, and most were working as escorts at the time they vanished. One of them, Michelle Valdez, was even pregnant at the time of her demise. Satellite images captured between 2003 and 2005 revealed tire tracks and disturbed soil patches in the vicinity where the remains were later discovered, suggesting that all of the women had been slain at a different location and then driven out to the dumping site. But although all of the victims' names have since been revealed, the identity of their killer remains unknown to this day. Who was the West Mesa Bone Collector, and why did his rampage seemingly come to an abrupt end? Though no suspects have ever been officially named in connection with the slayings, one man in particular has always been a person of interest. Lorenzo Montoya, a 39-year-old printing company employee. Not only did Montoya live less than 3 miles from the burial site, but he also had a history of violence against women, and his co-workers divulged that he had privately confessed to them about the killings. Perhaps most damningly of all, dirt tracks were later found leading from his home to the dumping site. In December 2006, Montoya contacted 19-year-old Sherika Hill through an online chat room and offered her money to come and perform a dance at his mobile home located at 4000 Blake Road Southwest. The pair negotiated a price, and Sherika arrived at Montoya's trailer in the early hours of the morning. It's unknown what exactly transpired inside the trailer, but less than an hour after she had arrived, Montoya had strangled Sherika to death and had wrapped her remains up using duct tape. Little did he realize that Sherika's boyfriend, Frederick Williams, was waiting outside the trailer for his girlfriend to finish her dance. He was watching as Montoya dragged her duct tape body out towards his truck. In a fit of rage, Frederick shot and killed Montoya then and there. Following this, the West Mesa slayings came to an end. Frederick Williams didn't face any charges. The authorities remain convinced that this wasn't Montoya's first rodeo. In the words of Police Chief Ray Schultz, "There's a good probability that this wasn't the first time Montoya had done something like this. It was very well planned and orchestrated, and that's what's worrisome about this." While sifting through Lorenzo Montoya's home for evidence, detectives stumbled upon what could very well be a crucial lead. An eerie home recording found on Montoya's camera. The camera's set up facing the wall, leaving what happens off-screen to our imaginations. The audio, too, is sparse. There's no TV on in the background, no radio. The whole scene is deathly quiet. Except, that is, for what sounds like duct tape being pulled off a roll, and a garbage bag being opened. Many people are confident that Montoya was recording this moment for his own sick amusement, a memento he could return to and enjoy again and again. The moment he was disposing of a body. He was careful not to capture any of this grisly scene on film, so that he could always plausibly deny what was actually happening just out of view. This short clip is all that's been released to the public. According to investigators, the complete video begins with Montoya having sex with an unidentified woman. The footage fades to black and transitions to this clip. Some people even say that if you listen closely, at around the 36-second mark, it sounds as if Montoya says, "Tranquilo," in English, calm down, or be quiet. It's unknown whether Montoya was saying this to his dog, or perhaps even to himself. Or indeed, if he even does say that word at all. It's quite hard to make out. Given that tranquilo is masculine in Spanish though, he certainly wasn't speaking to Sherika or any of the other women who met their fate in West Mesa. As far as I can tell, the police haven't revealed the timestamp on the video, so we can't be certain which of the women is being disposed of off camera, if indeed that is what's happening in this clip. It remains unconfirmed whether Lorenzo Montoya truly was the bone collector, the twisted sicko who claimed so many lives in West Mesa. But this dark piece of found footage certainly leaves us with a lot to think about. If it truly is what it sounds like though, then this is one of the very few recorded examples of a serial killer in action.
Unhealthy habits may increase your risk of lifestyle diseases. Try doctor-prescribed Centrum Advance. May lycopene to help protect your heart. Potassium tumutulong sa normal blood pressure. Chromium na sumusuporta sa normal blood sugar. Centrum Advance.
Tap out na sa pukpuk timpla pakulo? Eto na, ang Argentina Tender Tapa. Narekta luto na. Tender Tapa. Nuot ang beefy sarap. Busog! Argentina Tender Tapa. 79 lang.
Eliza Sherman was a 53-year-old devoted mother of four who worked as a fertility nurse in Cleveland, Ohio. Her best friend, Jan Lash, described her as a caretaker type, an amazing human being, the type of person who knew the neighborhood kids' favorite sweets and kept them in stock. By all accounts, she was an extremely kind and well-liked person. Which begs the question, who killed her? It's a question investigators have been trying to answer since her life was so cruelly snuffed out on March 24th, 2013, and a chilling piece of surveillance footage likely holds the answer. At the time of the incident, Elisa was in the process of splitting up with her husband, Sanford Sherman. Elisa and Sanford's turbulent relationship history included frequent fights, the shifting of money from joint to private bank accounts, and Sanford's admission to an affair. Elisa, who feared her husband, filed for divorce in 2011. Since she and her husband were still living in the same house, she put a deadbolt on her bedroom door for protection, and even sent herself an email in which she wrote, "I'm really afraid he's going to have me killed." She was extremely eager to see the back of Sanford and move on, to get past this dark chapter in her life. Shortly before their divorce hearing, on March 13th, Elisa texted her brother, "Trial's in 2 weeks. Hopefully there is life after death." That message would turn out to be eerily foreboding. At 2:55 p.m. on March 24th, Elisa sent her daughter, Jennifer, a text message saying she was visiting her divorce attorney, Gregory Moore, to finalize some paperwork. Concerns arose when Elisa failed to return home by 7:45 p.m., prompting worry from her children. She had assured them that she'd be home in time for dinner. Unable to get through to her mother on the phone, Jennifer began driving to Cleveland Heights in search of her. But she soon returned home when her brother, Jeremy, called her and told her something important. That the police were at their house and that they had some terrible news to share. Their mother, Elisa, had been murdered. A little over 2 hours prior, at approximately 5:20 p.m, somebody had viciously attacked her in broad daylight close to her attorney's office at 55 Erie View Plaza. A nearby worker heard screams coming from the street and saw an individual stabbing Elisa in the face, ear, neck, and back. In total, she was punctured 11 times. Law enforcement was swiftly summoned to the scene, but by the time they arrived, the killer was long gone. These grainy images, captured mere moments after the incident, while Elisa lay dying in the street, show a hooded figure in jeans and a green jacket, limping away. It's believed that this was the perpetrator. In the aftermath, Elisa's soon-to-be ex-husband, Sanford, siphoned around $2 million from her account, leading their daughter, Jennifer, to file a civil suit against him. This was settled out of court. One of Sanford Sherman's friends, Larry Shanker, later testified that Sanford had asked him how someone might get away with murder. Thinking it was nothing more than a thought experiment, Shanker replied, "Don't use your car, or don't let your car be seen. Don't use a gun, because it could be heard. Don't use your street clothes. Use something that would cover up your entire body. Your face. Your hands." Yeah, for obvious reasons, Sanford's considered suspect number 1. Interestingly, suspect number 2 would be Elisa's own attorney, Gregory Moore, whom she was on her way to see on the day she died. In 2016, Moore faced charges related to tampering with evidence, obstructing official business, falsification, telecommunications fraud, and forgery. It was Moore who had arranged to meet with Elisa on the day her life was taken. But although Moore claims that he was inside his office at the time of the incident, waiting for Elisa to arrive, keycard data and witness statements suggest that he had left the building an hour prior. Elisa herself certainly didn't think much of her attorney, complaining to friends that he was often late to their meetings and unprepared. She had desperately tried to find another lawyer, but, short on time and funds, was forced to stick with Moore. The third possibility is perhaps the most speculative, but take a look for yourself. Many people don't think that this person is Sanford Sherman or Gregory Moore. Based on their petite stature, they actually think it's a woman. As mentioned, from 2006 to 2010, Elisa's husband had been having an affair with a woman in New York and Florida. Could this have been her, or perhaps another woman that he was involved with? If so, Did Sanford have a hand in the planning, or did she act of her own volition? Theories abound regarding Sanford's motive and Moore's potential involvement, prompting speculation about the identity of the figure in the CCTV footage. Now, 10 years later, he, or perhaps even she, still hasn't been identified, and the blade used to end Elisa's life has never been recovered. There's a reward of $100,000 for any information that leads to an arrest.
With a new Nescafe Gold 2-gram stick, enjoy expertly crafted coffee every day.
Before we move on, I want to introduce you all to Ridge, the good people who make these compact, stylish wallets. Now, there are a few things more annoying than a bulky wallet in your pocket. They look bad, and they're a pain to get out. Thankfully, Ridge have solved those problems. Their wallets can expand to hold up to 12 cards while remaining slim and convenient, all while still having room for cash. Now, if you've taken anything away from my videos in the past, it's that you can never be too careful. Ridge wallets are designed with RFID blocking materials that protect you from digital pickpockets. They come in over 30 different colours and styles, including leather if you like to go the more traditional route. Personally, I couldn't resist this neon tiki design. That's very much a little slice of me, and with Christmas just around the corner, I thought I'd get one for my wife too, and she was over the moon with it. So if you're still looking for the perfect festive gift for that special someone, look no further. Shop the holiday sale by going to ridge.com/lazymasquerade and get up to 30% off through December 20th. Use my link and you can enter free for a chance to win a Ridge bundle worth $4,000. Click my link in the description below to enjoy those amazing savings. Thanks Ridge for sponsoring the channel. Now back to the video. Tilto-chan, the twisted-necked woman whose crooked head has haunted many a person's dreams over the years. Perhaps you've seen this image before. Though it first appeared online in early 2010, it was truly brought to the wider public's attention by a Japanese magazine called Dangerous Images for Your Brain. The article, which was titled "The Woman Looking at the Camera," explained that this was a screen grab taken from a 2009 episode of Ryan no Gokigenyo, captured after the camera panned to show the studio audience. Though the rest of the crowd seemed to be reacting normally and are focused on the stage, this one woman stands out. Her skin is deathly pale, her head is twisted at an unnatural angle, and she's staring right down the barrel of the lens with an almost menacing smile. After appearing in the publication, the image soon gained more notoriety online, particularly on 2channel. It even landed a coveted place on Japan's notorious Things You Must Never Search For list. Word soon spread that the episode of Ryan no Gokigenyo that the woman had featured in had been erased from existence by the showrunners, who were desperate not to let anyone rewatch it. People online were labeling it as cursed, and even an optic hazard, something that once seen will have devastating effects on your mind. It said that once you've seen her face, it's already too late. Tilto is coming for you. She'll be with you soon, her head twisting around, corkscrewing as she walks down your hallway and enters your room, staring at you with hollow, distorted eyes and that grim smile. Is that the floorboards creaking, or her neck? But don't start sweating just yet. Papa Lazy's here to break down why you're probably not doomed after all. Though it's true that the original image was taken from an episode of Ryan no Gokigenyo, not all is as it seems. If you search the term Gokigenyo Kankyaku, or Good Day Audience, on Google, you'll be met with an earlier incarnation of the screen grab, in which the woman's neck is less contorted, and her skin decidedly more pale. Still creepy, but still not the unedited original. That would be this. Rather than the fact that the woman's looking directly at the camera, there really isn't anything unnatural about her at all. The same woman was even spotted in a different episode of Gokigenyo, proving that she was just an ordinary audience member and not a paranormal entity. So if that's all there is to it, Why did this image of all things get turned into a creepy internet artifact with its own lore and everything? Well, although many people claimed that the episode featuring this woman had been deleted from online archives, that too was nothing more than fiction. A clip of said episode, which aired on May 5th, 2009, has since been unearthed, and here it is for your viewing pleasure. As you can see, a lot less creepy than the story made out. In fact, not creepy at all. It appears the audience member was merely imitating the host, who mere moments prior had tilted his head as he made a joke. In all likelihood, a 2-channel user saw the woman's noteworthy imitation and decided to create this cursed image. Knowing Japan's love of kawaii kusasete, otherwise known as the Let Me Be Cute challenge, that first edit was probably expanded upon by another user and was turned into this creepier version, made famous by the schlocky article. An article which was of course published by Core magazine, whom I've talked about in the past. Let's just say they're not exactly known for their journalistic integrity, and I've no doubt they simply ripped this image from 2channel and slapped on a story to go with it. It makes me wonder if this woman, whoever she may be, is even aware of how much of a storm she's caused online, all with the simple tilt of her head. Just goes to show, these internet urban legends truly can come from anywhere. The year was 2016, and Viola Beach was an up-and-coming indie pop rock band on the verge of a mainstream breakthrough. Formed in Warrington, England, the group consisted of vocalist and rhythm guitarist Chris Leonard, lead guitarist River Reeves, drummer Jack Dakin, and bass player Thomas Lowe. Their sound was very in vogue for the time, and they were beginning to make a name for themselves, with plans for an international tour and a coveted slot at Glastonbury, one of the world's biggest music festivals. Certainly the biggest in the UK. But before any of that, the band was scheduled to play at the Where's the Music Festival in Norrköping, Sweden. Their slot ended at around midnight on February 12th, at which point the band went backstage and relaxed for a short while. It was then that somebody snapped this photo of all 4 members. This should have just been another of the many pictures of the group living their dream. Instead, it would be the last image of all 4 members living at all, one taken less than 2 hours before the unthinkable. After performing at the festival, the group began driving back to their hotel in Stockholm in the early morning hours. Craig Tarry, the band's 32-year-old manager, was behind the wheel of their rented Nissan Qashqai. At 2:01 AM, their car was caught on CCTV approaching traffic on the motorway. A row of cars ahead of them had stopped as the upcoming bridge was being raised to accommodate a shipping vessel. This was made obvious by a set of blinking yellow lights and 2 closed safety barriers. The surveillance footage shows the group's car slowing down slightly before accelerating down a narrow hard shoulder towards the bridge. But rather than come to a stop like all of the other cars and wait for the bridge to be lowered back down again, Craig accelerated, hitting the two barriers in the process and driving the car through a gap under the bridge, with the top section of the vehicle smashing into the part-raised structure at 56 miles an hour. The Nissan Qashqai somersaulted 80 feet into the shipping canal. Chris, River, Jack, and their driver Craig all perished on impact, while Thomas drowned in the cold water below. Craig's toxicology report came back clean, and he should have been completely fit to drive. The car itself had no mechanical issues. The road was wet, but not covered in ice. The exact circumstances that led to the crash remain shrouded in uncertainty, though the unusual engineering of the bridge may have had something to do with it. When most people think of a bridge being raised, they imagine a tilt bridge, one that tilts upwards from both sides to create a space in the middle. But this particular bridge didn't tilt. It raised. Some suspect that Craig had fallen asleep at the wheel, but that doesn't fit into the investigation's findings. If there was maneuvering to get around the stationary vehicles, Craig must have been awake when he accelerated towards the bridge. An inquest also found that Craig would have had enough time to stop the vehicle after hitting the first safety barrier. That is, unless he woke up seconds before the crash, saw the blinking lights as the bridge was rising, and, confused and running on instinct, sped up in an attempt to jump what he thought was a tilt bridge. One of the investigators working the case, Lars Berglund, has his own thoughts about what happened. My theory is that Craig was inattentive for some reason, perhaps talking on a mobile phone or turning round to the others in the car, and he didn't see the barrier in time. He might have been knocked out after hitting the first barrier with his foot on the accelerator. Still, that's completely speculative, and despite reconstructions of the event and countless hours of detective work, the authorities still can't say with certainty what led to Craig accelerating to his and his friends' doom. Viola Beach's self-titled debut album was released posthumously in July 2016. A chilling incident occurred in the Philippines this month. 57-year-old Juan Humalon, or DJ Johnny Walker as he was known professionally, was a provincial news broadcaster who worked for 94.7 Gold Mega Calamba FM. On the morning of November 5th, 2023, the radio anchor was broadcasting on the station's Facebook page, streaming live from his home-based studio on the southern island of Mindanao. Juan's breakfast show had a small but dedicated following, and several thousand people were tuned in as he discussed current events and played some of his favourite tracks. As can be seen in this recording of the broadcast, at approximately 5:22 AM local time, right in the middle of Juan's breakfast show, an unidentified man entered his recording booth. The DJ paused and looked up, prompting the intruder to shoot him twice at point-blank range, hitting his lower lip and the back portion of his head. Juan slumped backwards into his chair as a radio jingle played. According to Cebu Daily News, the killer and an accomplice had asked a station worker for permission to enter the studio in order to make an important announcement about some lost belongings. When told they couldn't enter, one perp held the worker at gunpoint, while the other went to take the DJ's life. CCTV cameras caught footage of the two men fleeing the scene. A third man was reportedly acting as a lookout. After hearing the two blasts ring out, Juan's wife, Jerabel, rushed into the studio and found her husband barely clinging to life. She rushed him to a local hospital, where he was pronounced DOA. Despite Juan's demise being caught live on camera, his brazen killer's face wasn't in frame. An EFIT was released based on physical descriptions made by witnesses. According to some sources, one of the suspects has been apprehended, though his name hasn't been revealed, and no further details have been released, so it's unclear whether it was this man or one of his two accomplices. It's worth noting that this man, who had so coldly taken Juan's life, had also taken Juan's gold necklace before fleeing the scene. Even so, many suspect that robbery wasn't his motivation. You see, journalists in the Philippines often face threats from politicians and their supporters, and those who refuse to stay silent voluntarily are sometimes silenced forcibly. Such occurrences aren't uncommon in the Philippines, a country which has long been considered one of the most dangerous places in the world for journalists. It's worth noting that according to the Global Impunity Index, the Philippines is the 8th worst country in the world at prosecuting the killers of journalists. Juan Humalon is now the 199th reporter to be slain in the nation since it returned to being a democracy in 1986. And at this point, it feels like only a matter of time before that number rises to 200. A huge thank you to my supporters here on YouTube and over on Patreon. Matt Fennell, George Lopez, Holly Lyons, Smilin' Jack, Ellen Doloff, Itai Alon, Nefus1988, Lydia Kumo, Asia Mina, Azriel Warakai, Chief Kochuake, Colin Monsma, Connor Lothan, Sai Wazao, Farewell Tattoos Jack FL, Gina Valera, Hamish, Ian Billock, Infamous Sempapi, Jordan Pree, Monica Mendoza, Peter Lodredge, Ruth Vika Shindi, and Tian Esmam. Thank you guys so much for your continued support. The devil's in the detail.
Am I a bad person? Tell me, am I?
Today's video is sponsored by Raycon. I've really been trying to stick to my fitness goals this year, going out for a run near most every day. Finding the motivation can be hard, but thankfully, I have the perfect partners to help me reach my goals. Raycon's Everyday Earbuds. Raycons offer amazing quality audio at half the price of other premium audio brands, and for my money, they're the best exercise buddies on the market. Not just because they have a massive 8 hours of playtime and a 32-hour battery life, not just because they're sweat resistant, and not just because the clear, crisp audio helps keep me pumped up. The secret lies in the optimized gel tips. They're designed to fit comfortably in your ears and actually stay in place, no matter how active your lifestyle. Whether I'm running, walking, or just commuting, they stay snug, comfy, and full of charge. If that wasn't enough, Raycon earbuds also come loaded with features, including 3 customizable sound profiles to fit any workout playlist. I've been jogging using Balance Sound while listening to the Cowboy Bebop OST, and with a simple tap, I can seamlessly switch between noise isolation mode when I'm at the gym and awareness mode when I want to hear what's happening around me. So help support the channel and get an awesome pair of earbuds in the process. click the link in the description box or go to buyraycon.com/masquerade to get 20% off your Raycon purchase, plus free shipping. On May 12, 2022, the badly decomposed remains of a still unidentified woman were discovered in a wooded area in Wadesboro, North Carolina, just west of a National Guard armory. The deceased, a scantily clad white female estimated to have been between 20 and 40 years of age, couldn't be linked to any missing persons reports in the area. In lieu of her real name, whatever that may be, she was given the moniker Anson County Jane Doe. She was estimated to have perished at some point in 2021. Unusually, at the time of her demise, the only clothing that the woman was wearing was a black Secret Treasures bra and a pair of leggings. Her cause of death has never been officially announced. While attempting to identify the woman, the most compelling, and easily the most disturbing lead the authorities came upon were several images captured by a trail cam close to where the Doe's remains were found. The cam had been installed in a hunting zone near the armory to monitor a deer feeder. But instead of deer, it captured these. Images of an unknown woman wearing the same clothes as found on the Doe's body, stumbling through the woodland on August 22nd, 2021. She was first recorded that night at 1:33 AM, entering the frame on the right. In the next image, captured a second later as the clock struck 1:34, she isn't visible at all, suggesting that she was running at the time. She later appeared again at 4:30 and 4:31 AM, this time hobbling in the opposite direction and using a large stick to support herself. This woman is strongly believed to be the Anson County Jane Doe, and though they didn't know why this lone female was wandering through the dense forest in the middle of the night, detectives now at least had a face to work with. Forensic investigators analyzed the images, but weren't able to draw many conclusions. It appeared as if the woman's leggings were wet above her knees, as was the lower half of her stick. That suggested that she had crossed a body of water, likely Culpeper Creek. She had perhaps slipped and hurt herself while doing so, hence the walking stick. Some theorize that she was suffering from a mental breakdown, but others have suggested an even darker possibility, that she was being held somewhere remote against her will, and with no time to get dressed, she had seized an opportunity to escape. Proponents of that theory believe that she ultimately met her end at the hands of her captor, who had somehow managed to track her down. Whatever did become of this woman, it's truly chilling to look over these images and imagine what her final hours must have been like, wandering alone through the woods, lost in unending blackness. In February 2022, 6 months after the trail cam footage was captured, and a few months before the Doe's remains were discovered, rabbit hunters stumbled upon a backpack containing an unspecified sum of cash close to the armory. They took the cash and abandoned the backpack in the forest. When news of the Doe's discovery spread, they brought the existence of the backpack to the authorities' attention. Unfortunately, to this day, that backpack hasn't been found. Despite providing relatively clear images of the Doe's face, the trail cam footage didn't result in any new leads. At least, none that the authorities have publicly announced. And that's the thing. Local law enforcement have remained unusually tight-lipped about this whole case, not releasing a description of the woman's remains, her cause of death, the colour of her hair, or even a description of the missing backpack. No major news outlets have reported on the story either, and it feels to many as if little's being done to solve this case. As one anonymous local resident put it, "I sure hope I never go missing in Anson County." In conjunction with these creepy images, it's that silence that's fueled so much online interest in this story. With so many questions, and so few answers, the Doe's identity has become a huge topic of discussion here on YouTube, over on Reddit, and perhaps most importantly, on Facebook.
Bossing! Saan po ang sentro?
Kakanin ka, bitsi-bitsi sa saba.
Palitaw na, palitaw.
Indian curry! Oh, pinupong manok pa!
Pokoy ba?
Salamat!
Sapin-sapin!
Halo, halo, siopaw!
Isaw lumpia! Sushi!
Hop, Yamonggo! Special.
Africana, menudo, palabok, pokwa. Ay, ang cupcake mo na.
Hello po, tita.
Barbecue kanin? Oh, di ko'y bistik na. Gambas! Kayos!
Di mo rin gets.
Kakanin ka, bitsi-bitsi sa saba.
Pinupong manok pa!
Halo, halo, siopaw!
Mag-grab food para gets ang sari-saring sarap. Starts at 99.
Hamon bibingka.
Takoyaki.
Sopas. Salami.
Attempt to Locate is a Facebook group with 123,000 followers. A place for users to share photos related to UIDs, or unidentified decedents, and attempt to link them to the case files of missing persons. And while discussing these images of Anson County Jane Doe, several users brought up this woman. Amber Ray Johnston, a 36-year-old mother from Mojave County, Arizona, one who's been missing since August 2021. To quote her page on missingpersoncenter.org, Amber was last seen in Bullhead City in August 2021. She left all her personal belongings at her apartment. Her boyfriend left around that same time and went to Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, and Amber was supposed to take a bus to Myrtle Beach on August 16th and meet him there. In her last Facebook post on August 19th, she streamed live from a bus before getting off at Winston-Salem. She hasn't been heard from since, and it's not clear whether she arrived in Myrtle Beach or not. Curiously, Amber's food stamp card was used by another woman after her disappearance. The woman, when contacted, said Amber's boyfriend had sold her the card. In the months prior to her disappearance, Amber had been using drugs and acting paranoid. Her case remains unsolved, and the circumstances are unclear. Amber Johnston bears an undeniable resemblance to the woman captured on the trail cam, and the date of her last correspondence lines up perfectly with when the footage was recorded. This lead has since been brought to the authorities' attention, and it's yet to be confirmed whether Amber truly is the Doe or not. Given just how much attention this case has received as of late though, I'd wager that the local authorities will dedicate more resources to identifying her, and that she'll be given her name back in the near future. Until then, Anson County Jane remains one of the USA's 14,000 unidentified decedents. I'll be sure to keep you all posted about any breakthroughs on my social media accounts. This is the last known photo of Snahanshu Sharma, a smart and cheerful 8-year-old boy from Hooghly, West Bengal. As reported by India Today, the boy met his end on February 16th, 2024, when he accidentally witnessed his mother, Shanta Sharma, in a, quote, compromising position with her secret lesbian partner, Ifat Parveen. Snahanshu became distraught when he saw his mother betraying his father. Little did he realize that his father, Pankaj, already knew about his wife's secret love affair, which had been going on since before they got married, but he had chosen to keep silent about it. Shanta tried to persuade her son to keep quiet too, but even after talking things over with him, she and Dishrat feared that he might reveal their secret to someone. Although lesbian relationships are legal in India, in certain areas they're considered extremely taboo and socially unacceptable. Terrified of a social backlash that could ruin their lives, both Shanta and Ifat did the unthinkable. Together, they pinned Snahanshu down, stabbed him several times with a vegetable knife so forcefully that the blade bent, and struck him in the head with an iron rod and a stone idol. They did all this while the boy's father, Pankaj, was at work, and when the only witness at the home was the family dog, Shadow. However, when Snahanshu's cousin came over and discovered the boy's lifeless body inside the home, investigators were quickly summoned and were able to identify his killers. Shanta and Nifat's mobile data placed them inside the house with Snahanshu at the time his life came to an end, as did surveillance footage captured by a neighbor. Forensic experts also found traces of Snehangshu's vital fluid on both of their clothes and on the stone idol inside the family home. They were arrested 4 days after the slaying, at which point Shanta confessed to taking her son's life out of fear of social embarrassment and ostracization. Deputy Commissioner Biswas stated to the media, "The relationship between Shanta and Ifat was an old one. They used to talk on the phone for hours past midnight. Based on multiple pieces of evidence, we zeroed in on these two women. Shanta was arrested from her home, and Ifat from hers." Both women are currently being held in police custody, awaiting their trial. Snehangshu's father is calling for his wife and her partner to be hanged.
Dry skin, glow gone, it's a hydration situation. Hydro Boost Water Gel packed with hyaluronic acid and NMFs for 5 times hydration, 80% stronger moisture barrier for plump, dewy skin. Buy dry skin, you can glow now.
Wow! Kakaibang wok sarap!
On September 20th, 2022, Emma Brown, age 12, was firing guns with her father, Daniel Brown, at their home in Poolville, Texas. Daniel ran a firearms business, and Emma had grown up around guns and ammo. That afternoon, the pair posed together for a photo before their joint target practice. What Daniel didn't know in that moment was that his daughter had other plans in mind, which she had morbidly hinted at by wearing a Harry Potter t-shirt with the quote, "I solemnly swear that I am up to no good." The 7th grader had secretly been planning a murder pact with an online friend. Both girls had mutually agreed to take out their entire families, including their pets, before running away together. According to chat logs, Emma planned to steal her parents' car, pick up her accomplice, and drive 230 miles to Georgia. Shortly after this image was taken, Emma intentionally fired a shot into her father's abdomen. After incapacitating her father, Emma took off down the driveway and walked about 100 yards down the road. But for whatever reason, she aborted her plan, and instead of making her way to Georgia, fired a single shot into her own head. Officers later arrived at the scene and found Emma lying in the dirt road. She passed away 2 days later in a local hospital. Her father, Daniel, survived his injuries. Emma's partner in crime, who also happened to be a 7th grader, was picked up by the authorities at her home in Lufkin and was charged with conspiracy to commit murder. Thankfully, she had either backed out of their mutual pact or never intended to go through with the plan in the first place, as her family were unharmed. She was fully prosecuted and sentenced in March 2023. Neither her name nor her sentence have been revealed to the public due to her age, and it's unclear how she and Emma had met, or why they both intended to eliminate their families and run off together. Icon Park's Orlando Freefall was touted by its operators as the tallest freestanding drop tower in the world. The attraction lifted riders in a gondola 430 feet above the ground, before inclining the seats forward 30 degrees and plunging them into a freefall, breaking 100 feet above the ground. Riders were only meant to experience a 4G thrill, a mild stomach upset, and a few laughs. But on March 24th, 2022, things ended very differently for one park guest. Tyree Sampson was just 14 when he fell to his demise from the Orlando Freefall drop tower. The adolescent, originally from St. Louis, had been on vacation in Florida with his family and a friend. When he and his buddy made it to the front of the line for the drop tower, staff were immediately concerned with the boy's size. The tower's manual specified a weight limit of 287 pounds for the ride. Tyree, who stood at 6'5" and weighed 383 pounds, was too large to fit safely into the seat. As such, the harness sensor in Tyree's seat had to be manually adjusted, loosened, and then tightened again, creating a larger gap than normal between his harness and the seat. The young attendant assisting Tyree had only been working at the park for 3 days, was still technically a trainee, and believed that because the adjustment had made the indicator light turn green, that it was safe to proceed with the ride. Moments before the ride was activated, Tyree could tell that something wasn't right, and reportedly said to his friend beside him, "I don't know, man. If I don't make it down safely, can you please tell my mama and daddy that I love them?" This photo shows Tyree seconds before the gondola began to rise. His shoulder bar was noticeably looser than his fellow riders. After the ride reached its target height of 430 feet, Tyree began to panic, realizing that he wasn't properly secured. But by that point, it was too late. The ride went into freefall. The brakes applied, and because of the G-force, Tyree was effectively sucked through the gap in his harness and hurtled to the concrete, smashing into the ground head first. He died shortly after impact. Video footage of this incident exists, but for obvious reasons, I don't recommend seeking it out. The visuals, and in particular, the sound, are absolutely soul-crushing. Even worse, when viewing it, it's apparent that nobody immediately helped the boy, and park employees can be heard trying to pass the blame. A lawsuit filed by Tyree's family claimed that there were no visible weight limits or scales at the ride location. "After learning the details of what happened, I can't help but wonder, why wasn't he turned away?" said Tyree's mother. "He'd been refused on other rides, so why not this one? I understand he's a child. He insisted on riding with his friend, I get that. But as an adult, or a ride attendant, that decision should have been made. His feelings might have been hurt, but he would still be here with me." His family filed a wrongful death suit against the owners of the amusement park and settled for an undisclosed amount. The ride has since been dismantled. On July 6, 2023, 2 students disappeared from India's northeastern state of Manipur. Hijam Linthongambi, a 17-year-old Meitei Hindu, had been attending tutorials that morning and was later captured on CCTV riding on a motorbike with her friend, Fijam Hemanjith, age 20. When both youngsters failed to return home that evening, their families reported them missing. For over 2 months, their whereabouts and well-being remained a mystery. Both sets of parents clung on to hope that their children would be found alive and well. That is, until late September, when this photo went viral on social media. The image shows both missing students seated together in an outdoor wooded area. Linthongambi wears a mask and looks directly at the camera with a scared expression, while Hemanjith's gaze is averted and empty. 2 armed individuals, their captors, can be observed in the background. Members of the rival Kuki Christian community who had forced the 2 students into one of their trucks at gunpoint. In May of 2023, violence had erupted between the Meitei people, who make up the majority of those living in the Yambal Valley region of Manipur, and the Kukizo tribal community, who called the surrounding hills home. The Kuki people have long complained about feeling marginalized and persecuted by the Meiteis, who hold more sway with the state government, and tensions came to a boiling point when the Meiteis demanded official tribal status, which would allow them to buy land and settle in predominantly Kuki areas. To date, approximately 200 people have been killed during the conflict, more than 1,000 injured, 60,000 displaced, and countless women essayed and publicly humiliated. It's safe to say that atrocities have been committed by both sides. Now, I'm by no means an expert, but from my understanding, the Kukis have a legitimate grievance with how the state government favours Meitei people. However, in this case, Kuki militants seem to have taken their frustrations out on 2 innocent young people and decided to make an example out of them. By the time this image had surfaced online, the conflict had become so inflamed that curfews and internet blackouts were ordered. Another blackout was issued after it was posted too, leading many to hope that peaceful negotiations may result in Linthongambi and Hemanjith's safe release. But when normal internet services returned on September 25th, a second picture began circulating online. One that showed the bodies of the 2 students lying in a pit. They were wearing the same clothes as seen in this image, and it's believed that they were executed mere moments after it was taken, likely as revenge against the Meiteis. Hijam Shantikumar, Linthongambi's uncle, revealed that these images had broken the poor girl's mother. She's devastated and faints every few minutes, he stated. She had been anxiously awaiting any news of her daughter's safety, of her return. We had to show her the images to accept that she will never return. Never. The government has utterly failed. There is no governance here. For the past 3 months, they've suspended the internet. Without internet, we'd have never learned about their deaths. During a protest held in Yamphal, thousands of students rallied to demand justice for Limthorn Gumby and Hemanjith. At least 45 protesters sustained injuries following clashes with the authorities, who deployed tear gas and fired rubber pellets. I want to assure the people that both the state and central government are closely collaborating to apprehend the culprits, Chief Minister Singh stated on Twitter. On October 1st, 2023, 4 adults were arrested in connection with the slaying of the students. 2 men, Palminlan Haukip and Smallsom Haukip, and 2 women, Lingnajong Baitakuki and Tinaling Hintang. If found guilty, they'll face the death penalty for taking the lives of 2 young, innocent students caught up in the crossfire of a conflict that they didn't start, that they didn't participate in, and that they didn't ask for. Darren Charles Mitchell, 21, was a National Guardsman and father from Navasota, Texas. May 26, 2016 was a torrentially rainy day in that part of the Lone Star State, and as Darren travelled down Highway 105 just outside of Brenham, his truck became trapped in flash floodwater which washed out the road. He clambered out into the bed of the vehicle and called his brother to let him know the situation, that he was trapped but still alive. But the floodwater continued to rise at an alarming rate. A high percentage of flood-related fatalities come from being hit by debris, and so, perhaps fearing being struck or washed away, Darren clambered back into the driver's side seat. Shortly thereafter, at 6:29 p.m, he posted this photo to his Facebook page. The caption read, "All I wanted to do was go home." But Darren would never get to go home again. Moments after uploading this photo, his vehicle became fully submerged. One local resident, Lashondo Smith, watched in horror as Darren's truck was swept away by the water. All of a sudden, he got back in his truck, and like maybe 10-15 minutes after that, it just flipped and he topsided into the water. It just disappeared. You didn't see tires, his truck, nothing. The following morning, Darren's body was found downstream in Kirkendall Creek. He was far from the only person who lost their life during that flood. Layla Holland, 64, drowned when floodwaters consumed her home. Jimmy Wayne Schaefer, 49, was swept away in his vehicle. Florida Malima, 23, drowned in her car. And Purali Umatia, 59, was found lifeless in Yegwa Creek. On October 22nd, 1999, 60-year-old Santa Barbara resident Jan Davis attempted a base jump from El Capitan in Yosemite Park. Davis's jump was part of an organized civil act of disobedience, protesting new regulations which made base jumping illegal in Yosemite without a permit. By leaping from El Capitan, the group hoped to prove a simple point: that base jumping was completely safe and that it shouldn't be outlawed. The protest was organized in reaction to the drowning death of fellow jumper Frank Gambale III on June 9th. Frank had successfully parachuted from El Capitan, but drowned in the river below while attempting to escape from rangers, once who were staking out the mountain to catch jumpers breaking the new regulation. Jan was the fourth of 5 jumpers who had gathered at the top of El Cap to attempt the jump. The first 3 successfully executed their jumps and received cheers from the 150 or so onlookers at ground level. These jumpers were subsequently taken into custody by rangers stationed at the bottom of the mountain. But they all anticipated this. Jan herself had even dressed in an inmate's outfit, mocking what she considered a ridiculous regulation. At approximately 1:20 p.m, it was her turn to step up to the plate. An experienced jumper who had performed stunts in movies like Waterworld and Congo, Jan showed no signs of fear as she shimmied up to the edge of El Cap. One of her fellow protesters gave her a 10-second countdown, and with the shout of 3, 2, 1, Sia ringing in her ears, Daredevil Jan flung herself over the edge of the 3,200-foot mountain. Initially, all appeared well, but onlookers grew concerned when she didn't deploy her chute at the recommended altitude. "Pull, woman," muttered the cameraman as he watched her falling towards the rocks below at full speed. "Dude, she's got problems, man," he said a few seconds later. Jan fell for over 15 seconds before striking the talus slope at the cliff's base. She died on impact. Investigators later found out that Jan was jumping with borrowed gear, fearing that the Rangers would confiscate hers upon her arrest. Trouble was, Jan usually pulled the cord on her back. On the borrowed jumpsuit, the cord was on her leg. This likely led to confusion mid-jump, and unfortunately, spelt her doom. Base jumpers argue that by prohibiting the activity, Rangers are forcing hobbyists to take unnecessary risks, such as jumping in low light and using older gear that they don't mind being confiscated. But Rangers argue that the community's readiness to break their own rules is exactly why base jumping can't be allowed. And, ironically, Jan's protest jump served to highlight their point. Although base jumping is still banned in Yosemite to this day, hang gliding is permitted 1 day a week from Glacier Point. The hang gliding community have always been very compliant with the regulations, said Yosemite spokesperson Scott Gediman, whereas the base jumpers have not. If you enjoyed the video and you'd like to see more, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell icon so you don't miss any future uploads. Before we end, a huge thank you to my supporters here on YouTube and over on Patreon, especially my biggest supporters: George Lopez, Holly Lyons, Modest Bulbasaur, Alana Pons, Asia Mina, Azrael Warakai, Chief Kochuake, Colin Monsma, Connor Lawthon, Sai Wazao, Farewell Tattoos Jack Sefel, Gina Valera, Hamish, Ian Billock, Kevin Villa, Monica Mendoza, Peter Olgerach, Smiling Jack, TNS Mum, Hamish K, Ellen Doloff, Itai Alon, Nefas 1988, and Lydia Cumo. Thank you all so much for your continued support.